it was possible to have you here with us to say the wonderful things you know so well how to say. Thank you, Anna.
Okay, thank you very much. Firstly, I'd like to say how wonderful it is to be here in Lisbon. It's my first time in Portugal, so I'm very happy to be here. And even though it's raining, it's still beautiful. Darshan took me out this morning to have a look, and it's very wonderful to be in a place where you can feel the history so deeply. So I'm very happy to be here. So I would like to begin with just a little information about how I came to Reiki and how I came to be in Kyoto when I met Darshan. I was looking for a Reiki teacher for a long time. I had heard about Reiki when I worked in the health service in England, and I travelled for a year looking for a teacher. I met all sorts of different kinds of people and different kinds of Reiki teachers, but I didn't meet anybody that I really resonated with and wanted to learn from. In fact, in Kathmandu in Nepal, I met a man who taught Reiki, and I went to see him, and he took me into a small room alone, and he said to me, before you can learn Reiki, I have to plant a seed in you. So naturally, I left very, very quickly. And I decided, okay, if this is Reiki, it's not for me. Forget it.
Yes.
So then, on return from my travels to England, I did not settle. I immediately had a feeling that I needed to go to Japan. So I set off for Japan. And through a series of circumstances there, I was introduced by Ikuko, a friend and a work colleague, to Chiyoko Yamaguchi and her son Tadao Yamaguchi. Chiyoko Yamaguchi, as you may know, had been practicing and teaching Reiki for some 65 years when I met her. And I went to meet them in her apartment. As soon as I walked into the apartment and saw Chiyoko Sensei sitting in her chair by her fridge, smiling away, I knew that this was the teacher that I'd been looking for. She glowed with this like warmth and this love, and at the same time she was so down to earth and so real and just smiley, you know. She was like my grandmother kind of thing. She was just great. And so I learned with them, and I spent a lot of time with her and her son, and I came to see how Chiyoko Sensei did not do Reiki. Reiki was an integral part of who she was. It was part of her life that couldn't be separated as something she did. And through knowing them and the work I did with them, I found out that Chiyoko Sensei had been apprehensive about teaching what she had learned all those years ago, and her family had learned all those years ago, to Westerners. The reason for her apprehension was that she had a worry that Westerners would not be able to understand the true depth of Reiki and the roots of Reiki. From the people, some of the people that she had met, she felt that there was a surface understanding, but the roots and the depth were not appreciated. But, you know, she also then met Arjava, who is a very well-known Western Reiki master. And in him, she immediately saw somebody who was wanting to learn more and wanting to understand more about the depths. And so this encouraged her to invite people over and have seminars that were done in English. I must admit, when I heard that story, I felt a little bit like, oh, why was she thinking that about Westerners? And then as I became involved and we had a lot of Western Reiki masters come to Japan, I met a lot of different people. And I remember sitting one day to lunch with a very well-known American Reiki master teacher, and she said to me, I do not know what all this fuss is about the Gokai, the principles of Reiki. I don't bother teaching it to my students. I think it's nothing. And so that helped me to understand what Chiyoko Sensei's worries were, because for Chiyoko Sensei and for the original Japanese Reiki, these 5 principles were really a big foundation of what Reiki was. And really a key to making Reiki part of your life. So Darshan was one of the Western Reiki masters that came to Japan that I had the good fortune of meeting. And it was fun. We had fun together. We went on trips and outings together. We spent time together at the Jikiden Reiki Centro in Kyoto. And it was very clear that Darshan was a teacher who wanted to understand Reiki from the inside out. She really wanted to live Reiki and get the roots. And I feel that Chiyoko Sensei, competing, I feel that Chiyoko Sensei would be very happy, and I'm sure she does know about this book. I'm sure she's very happy to know that a lot more people in the West now are starting to get access to the information, the feeling, what's happening in Japan around Reiki through Darshan's wonderful book. So, time spent in the pages of this book will carry you and all readers on several journeys. There's the fascinating life journey that Darshan has. It will take you on a journey through Japan, and it will take you on a journey really into the depths of Reiki too. So I'll just talk a little bit about each of those. So starting with the fascinating life journey of Darshan, well, we get to witness and learn more about the very common everyday miracles and synchronicities that happen in Darshan's life. And they happen not because Darshan is a special master. They happen because Darshan is open to them and because she believes, or rather knows, that they happen. We journey through seeing Darshan make choices that take responsibility for her own life and her own healing. This is not about the theory of Reiki. This is about Darshan being a living example of how Reiki can be used to enhance your life and to heal physically and emotionally. And to refer back to the 5 principles, again, the 4th of those principles is Gyo Hageme. And Gyo Hageme can be translated literally as do your duties or do your work, which can be misunderstood if you do not look at the depths of it. It's essentially about working on yourself, about really dedicating yourself to your own personal growth and healing. And this is one of the things that Darshan is a shining example for us all. And so it's a demonstration of the magic of Reiki. It's an inspiring life story. I'm sure many of you know it, but through reading the book, you really get a feeling of what it's like to be Darshan. And that's fascinating. Strange, but fascinating. So it's really a privilege to share in this journey with Darshan through this book. Secondly, we are invited to go on a journey through Japan with Darshan. For me, it read like a wonderfully true fairy tale of what it's like when a unique Portuguese woman, goes to such a different, strange, wonderful, odd culture like Japan. So we get to experience with her, the confusion, the surprise, the wonder, the delight, everything that's going on. And we get to experience that again from her point of view. And one of the beauties about it, I think, is that Darshan's narrative in the book speaks, it's poetic, and at the same time it's very direct and honest. So we have these two things like interlaced. And so I found when I was reading about this journey through Japan that it's really very rich. It took me back to Japan, so I really got to re-experience what that was like and to kind of feel it again, because you know, Darshan's writing about the people and the people's expressions and what they felt like and what they looked like and what they were saying, and then we have the situations and the bathhouse, for example. There's always many wonderful situations and experiences to have in Japan, because there are so many unwritten rules that foreigners do not know until you make a mistake. So I loved her description, because I could relate so much, to going into the Japanese bathhouse, and where you obviously you bathe naked, and they give you a towel which is not big enough to cover anything Japanese. So we get to experience the sights, the sounds, the colours, the smells on this journey, you know, through beautiful Kyoto and through the bustling, busy Tokyo. And throughout all of this, we get to witness what happens when you surrender to a higher guidance whilst you're in the situation. So lastly, we are invited to share a journey into Reiki, really into the depths and the roots of Reiki too. You know, it's the history and the setting of this wonderful healing system that Usui Sensei brought forward to benefit everyone who wants to embrace it. And I think the beauty of this book and how it explains more to us, and the chances it gives us to understand that, are in when I lived in Japan, I lived there for 6 years altogether, and I found it to be a culture that had ever more to learn. I never quite, every time I thought, oh, I got it, there was more, no, more, no, more. And I began to notice how in the West, many of us are so busy talking about things and are questioning things and philosophizing and trying to work it out in our heads, that we often miss what is there. We miss the depth of what is there. The depth of what is there cannot be questioned into existence. We can't understand it with the mind. Actually, we need to stop and feel and allow the awareness of what is there to emerge. I'll give you an example of one of my learnings with this. I wasn't sure whether to say this because I hope it's not taken the wrong way. I mean absolutely no disrespect to Japanese culture at all. I had many friends in Japan who took part in Japanese dances. I don't know if anyone here has seen a traditional Japanese dance, but generally what happens is there's a large stage, and one woman in a kimono, usually with a fan, will be making tiny movements, like tiny, very slow movements. And there will be some musicians at the side. One will have the koto instrument, and another will be singing in what sounds like a totally tuneless way to the Western ear, very out of tune, very odd. And I went along to support my friends who gave me the tickets that were very expensive. And towards the beginning of my time in Japan, I would go and I would sit and I would be bored and I couldn't get it and I didn't like the sound and I didn't like it. And then I kept going to support my friends every time they gave me tickets. And I'm glad I did, because what happened over time was, rather than watching it and trying to understand why there's this woman not moving, and instead of trying to understand that with my head, I started to just relax, shut my eyes and feel it. And I began to understand that this was a meditation. It was a meditation for the people who were doing it, and it was a meditation for the people who were watching. And so then I wanted to go, so I was looking for tickets. Because every time I went, I would fall into this, like, it wasn't sleep, but it was like this, I don't know what it was, kind of meditative state. And I felt so good. It was like getting the best rest you could ever have. And actually, I mentioned it to one of the teachers that came over, one of the Western people that came over. It was a lady called Dinah from Latvia, who you met, actually, didn't you? She's from Latvia, had a very Russian accent. And I said to her, I have 2 tickets for the Japanese dance, would you like to come? She said, oh, I don't think I like it. I said, please come, I promise you it will be the best sleep you've ever had. So she came, she was like, nah, I don't want to, but she came. And we sat down, and I saw her at the beginning, she was just like, and then slowly I saw her drift, like this. And at the end I said to her, how was it? She said, oh my God, she said, that's the best sleep I've had in years. So my reason for telling you that story is, you know, that is just one example. There are many Japanese things, tea ceremony included, that I had that kind of experience in, where I stopped trying to understand it and started instead to feel it. And, you know, the same is true of Reiki. There's a depth there that you can miss if you're not careful. And the journey that we're taken on in this book, I feel really helps to understand and to be able to grasp those depths and roots in a new way. And we can begin to feel the depth underneath that simplicity, the power underneath that simplicity, and the love that's there. So I would like to say thank you to Darshan for being willing to demonstrate what it can be to work on yourself in this way, to integrate Reiki into your life so that you are living it, and to use it to heal physically and emotionally. And you know, Usui Sensei's intention when he began this healing system was exactly that. It was there purely for us to begin to peel off those layers of stuff that we've accumulated, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, so that we can reveal our shiny true self. And as Cat Stevens was saying so nicely, it's an ongoing work. And you know, Darshan, I feel sure that Usui Sensei sees you doing this with all of your heart and soul. And so, here in this book we get to witness the intimacies of a journey into healing. And this, I think, is very important, that we get to see that healing ourselves is the best way to heal the world. I think, you know, many of us have a desire to help in the world. We see so much going on and we have a desire to help. Sometimes we feel helpless. The good news is that we can do something, and the most pure and effective thing to do is to work on ourselves and our own issues. And the honesty, I think, that Darshan uses during this book, the openness that she tells her stories with, I find inspiring, and I think that they will inspire people to do just the same. And so I would invite everybody who reads it and gets to see this shining example of love and courage and strength and vulnerability, willingness, honesty, you know, surrender. I would invite you to firstly see that, and then to recognize that you could not see that over here unless it was first in yourself. So I hope that this book informs you, that you enjoy going on the journeys, I feel sure you will, and that it inspires you in whatever way is best for you. Thank you very much.